Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Tom. You know, one of my favorite guitar sounds of all time is a 12-string Rickenbacker or a 6-string electric going through a chorus pedal through a Fender amp. I love that jangle sound. So in chronological order, I'm just going to present some of my favorite jangle songs, albums, etc. Let's start off with Ground Zero here with the Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man. Came out in 1965. This kind of, started a whole new sound in rock. The song Mr. Tambourine Man went to #1 in the US and started that whole sound that many people mimicked afterwards. The whole album is great. I couldn't even pick one particular song because they're all fantastic, but this is one of my favorite Jangle Pop albums. In '65, the Beatles filed suit as well with If I Needed Someone, which is basically just almost the same chord patterns as the Bells of Rimney. They're just changed up a little bit, but that's a great jangle tune, one of my favorites. In 1966, the Hollies released Look Through Any Window with a very unique jangle sound. That opening line on the song is just really fantastic. Nothing really sounds like it. One of my favorites, Look Through Any Window off the Hollies. This is off the greatest hits, but it was a single. Simon and Garfunkel went a little jangle too on The Sounds of Silence and the song I Am a Rock, both on these albums, both great songs. Of course, most people know Sounds of Silence was originally just an acoustic song that the engineers added live electric instruments to and made it a #1 hit in '65. I Am a Rock was another hit, and that too features jangle, and that's another favorite of mine. Even the Jefferson Airplane on Surrealistic Pillow went a little jangle as well. One of my absolute favorite Jefferson Airplane songs, DCBA 25, kind of jangle psych, really good stuff. Always love that song, and no one really ever talks about it much. Another favorite, let's move to the '70s with Big Star, the Radio City record featuring a lot of jangle. Way Out West with Jody Stevens singing lead vocal. Of course, September Girls with that jangly solo in the middle. And across the whole album, there's jangle here and jangle there. One of the greatest albums of all time, Big Star, Radio City. And then late '70s, early '80s, Tom Petty was using the jangle sound as well, especially prominent on the song The Waiting off of Hard Promises. Great song, a heavily played song back in the summer of '81, I remember. And I always liked Tom Petty because he has, he knows his roots, and a lot of his roots are Byrds influence. So another great song here, The Waiting from Tom Petty. James Honeyman Scott, The Pretenders, was a very real varied guitarist. He had a lot of chorus on his guitar, a lot of flange. He could rock, but he had a lot of jangle as well, as evident on Talk of the Town, Pretenders 2, and there's a song called English Roses. If you guys have the box set or hear the box set of this, which I have, there's a live performance from 1981 at the Santa Monica Civic, and it is absolutely killer. I think it's the best showcase of James Honeyman Scott's talents as a guitarist. I mean, he could do it all. He could do like the subtle thing, he could do the loud thing, he could do the chimey thing. Definitely pick that up, that box set of Pretenders 2. I think there's like 2 or 3 CDs in it. It's fantastic. That live show is fantastic. One of the best I've ever heard. But yeah, again, Pretenders went jangle as well, or had jangle throughout their first couple records. And even after James Honeyman Scott passed, they released Back on the Chain Gang, which has a very jangly opening, kind of reminiscent of 8 Days a Week by the Beatles. A very underrated record from 1982 is The Church's debut, which is full of jangle. The song Too Fast for You and Tear It All Away are fantastic jangle songs, 2 of my favorite of all time. But the record in general is just a jangle fest. Highly recommended. I don't know if you can buy this anymore, unless you buy it, secondhand at a used record store. But they've never released this album again in the U.S. on vinyl or CD. But the closest you can get to it is the UK counterpart album, which isn't as good. But this has the best song list of those 2 albums. So the Church debut album, the American version. And then Dave Gregory of XTC switched to a little jangle on English Settlement. A lot different than the Black Sea album. There's definitely some jangle on Senses Working Overtime, and one of my absolute favorites, All of a Sudden It's Too Late. Great songs, great jangle songs from XTC. And then the jangle revival really started with REM, right? In the early 80s, starting with the Chronic Town EP. The song Wolves Lower has the most amazing arpeggios, I think, ever on vinyl from Peter Buck. But as well as this album, there's also Murmur and Reckoning, like Southern Central Rain and Letter Never Sent. It's full of jangle. That was kind of their main sound. Here's a copy signed by Bill Berry outside the Greek Theater in 1985. Kind of cool. And they played there. One of my favorite REM jangle songs is Green Grow the Rushes off Fables of the Reconstruction. Could be my favorite REM song of all time. And these were signed to Peter Buck, Michael Stipe outside the same show in the Greek in 1985. And then the English counterparts of REM, the Smiths. Johnny Marr's guitar playing was very jangle on the first two albums, especially on The Hand That Rocks the Cradle and Suffer Little Children. Just sounds like, you know, a revamped Roger McGuinn for the 80s. And then I think one of the best examples of Johnny Marr's jangle playing is the Headmaster Ritual of Meet His Murder. It's just fantastic. The opening it's quite a long opening for a Smith song, but the jangle is just fantastic. Headmaster Ritual off Meet His Murder. And then the group Everything But the Girl, they had their first two albums has a wide mixture of stuff going on there. There's like jazz, there's jangle. I don't think they really knew what they were doing at the time, but it's a really interesting mix. But I think this was a single at the time. It's called Are You Trying to Be Funny? Great jangle song, great pop song. I'm really surprised it never did anything, but this is a great album as well. This is like a 5-star album. Little bit of jangle, little bit of jazz from Everything But the Girl from 1985. And then Robin Hitchcock, of course, has his jangle as well going on. On this album here, Globe of Frogs, there's a song called Flesh Number 1 Beetle Dennis. It's fantastic. Great jangle song, one of my all-time favorites. Robin Hitchcock from Globe of Frogs. And then moving over to the 90s, the first Sundays record is fantastic. There's some nice jangle on there. One of my favorites on here is called You're Not the Only One I Know. Great song, great jangle. And then recently, as of now, maybe the past 7 years or so, well, actually, maybe the past 9 years, there's this group called Real Estate. They're definitely updated the jangle sound. Every song on here is great. The first song is really great. Had to Hear. Some great jangle on that as well. And I know there's plenty of more jangle songs, but those are some favorites of mine. Do you have favorite jangle pop songs or jangle bands that you dig? Let me know in the comments section. Also, please press subscribe. I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching and take care. Bye-bye.